What's good, y'all? It's your boy Havoc. Final round. We're going to talk about the fight with Lopez versus Campa, the return of Teofimo. In my estimation, it was a good performance. If I had to grade it, I would give it an A minus. I think a lot of people are being a little bit harsh. I shouldn't say harsh, but going out there in the boxing ether and listening to all the different channels, it seems like this is more emotional. People are judging his performance based off of more emotion, okay, than objectivity. Now, I'll tell you guys, I don't care what your race is. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care what your religion is. I just judge based off of the boxing skills, the technique, the resume, the perspective of where they're at in their career. I take into consideration all these things. I believe he performed very well for considering he just took an L. It was a big L. He lost all his belts. He lost them to Cambosis, and he probably lost them in a way that hurt even more because I don't think that was the best Teofimo Lopez that we saw, that we could have seen against Cambosis. It was a snowball effect of a lot of bad things. That's not to make excuses for Teofimo, because he did make some crazy excuses or at least one where he was sitting there saying, boxing's against me, or I have some weird condition, and maybe he does, but it didn't seem to impact him in his prior fight. So I don't really think that's a plausible excuse for him to use. Whether you're saying air is filling up in his lungs and all that, I don't know about all that. But what I do know is I don't think we saw the best Teofimo Lopez show up that night against Cambosis. I think he came in with a bad game plan. I think the weight cut was killing him more in the sense that the fight kept on getting delayed, and I don't know if he was ballooning back up and coming back down. And, it's very hard to cut weight, you guys. And the fact that, it kept on getting pushed off by Triller and the date kept on moving back and he had to go back up and down, that probably affected him a little bit. Supposedly he was having issues with his baby mama. Your girl's acting like a, crazy in the streets. That's going to affect you. That's going to play on you psychologically. So it seemed like there was a lot of things. And then on top of that, there's a lot of bad blood. He's getting emotional. He's saying he's going to knock Cambosis out in the first round, and he tries to stick to his guns in the first fight. He gets caught slipping. He gets put down. It's just a snowball effect. But I genuinely don't believe that was the best Teofimo Lopez that fought Cambosis. So that's why I kind of give him a little bit of a break. I know boxing is tribal. It kind of gets tribal in terms of race. Black fans support black fighters, Latino support or Hispanics support Hispanic fighters, and it even divides down, nationality, whether it be Puerto Rico, Mexico, Cuba, the European, the whites. It's very tribal, and sometimes the different tribes will criticize the top guy of one tribe, like Teofimo Lopez. He's looked as a representation of Latino or Hispanic fighters. And right now there's a lot of black fans that are very critical. They're very critical of him. On top of that, he deserves a little bit of the crow from the Cambosis fight. He was talking a lot of junk. Him and his dad were talking a lot of crazy stuff, and he lost. So he deserves some of that. And the excuses. He was sitting there criticizing Deontay Wilder for making excuses, but yet he was making excuses when he lost. Now, I'll say this. The little bit of the difference, with him and Deontay Wilder, I think Deontay Wilder was a little bit out there in terms of his excuse making. I don't know. We were getting to the point to where he pretty much thought he was getting abducted by aliens and probed and all this madness. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, Teofimo made some lame excuses himself, but the degree was a little bit different. And I thought the excuses came more so from a denial of what happened. Okay. Like I said, somewhat the same thing, but not quite to the degree. Okay. And another thing is, I don't think Deontay Wilder had really stood a chance at beating Fury. I thought he was completely delusional in that sense. I think Teofimo legitimately could beat Cambosis. If they had 10 fights, I think he probably wins more of those matchups than Cambosis. If Fury and Wilder have 10 fights, I think Fury wins 9 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10. So, It's a little bit different. And I understand black fans are kind of enraged in the sense that why does this guy get to make excuses, but everybody was on Deontay Wilder's ass when he made excuses. But I don't go by that, dude. That's why I don't get caught up in the tribalism, because, it makes you unobjective. At the end of the day, look, we got to be biased. We got to look at it for what it is. I don't care what his race, nationality, gender, all that, religion is. Teofimo is still a threat. He's still a threat. He's still a problem. I said it in the film study. I'm not saying he's going to beat Haney, Shakur, or, Tank, and Garcia, and Regis Prograis, or Josh. I'm not saying he beats those guys. But it's a competitive fight. And I hate how boxing fans sit there, oh, well, that's, no, Teofimo loses to all those guys. Okay, I still want to see it. Because I still think he is competitive. I still think he's competitive. I still think he can win those fights, but he has to be at his best. He has to be disciplined. For people saying that this guy can't box, absolutely crazy. How can you not box when you became undisputed? How can you not box when he did it at such a young age? How can he not box? He showed he's got footwork, he's got a jab, he's got combinations, he's got good punch selection, he can manage distance. In this last fight, he was outside, inside, mid-range. He was front foot heavy at the end of the fight, and he was back foot through most of the fight. I don't understand. He can box. It's just a matter of discipline. That Kambosos fight, see, a lot of the race baiters, they'll sit there and say, oh, I told you so. Lopez can't box because he lost to Kambosos. That's emotional talk right there. Teofimo lost that fight because he did not come in with the right game plan, the right strategy. He was undisciplined. He was emotional. But those are easy fixes. That's as simple as don't get emotional. And we saw that Teofimo can control those emotions. We saw that he can box and be disciplined because we saw it in the Lomachenko fight. I said it in the film study. Lomachenko was 1 point pound for pound. He's still pound for pound to me. But I know, once again, the tribalism in boxing and emotion. We can't have Lomachenko pound for pound because he lost, and we don't like this white dude. Okay, fine. You don't want to put on your pound for pound still? Fine. I think in my opinion, Lomachenko edges out Haney. I think he gets to Haney. I think he's a problem for anybody. I still think he's pound for pound. You disagree? Fine. We'll see. We'll see very soon. Okay, we'll see very soon. And even if he doesn't beat those guys, it's competitive. It's a close matchup. And that's what we want to see. We want to see these fights. We want to see these guys go round robin. Just because you think one guy will win doesn't mean I don't want to see the fight. But Lopez was able to give Lomachenko his toughest fight. And some people say Loma won. Some people say Teo won. It was close. It was hard for me to call, but still, the fact that he was able to give Lomachenko his toughest fight, regardless of whether you thought he won or not, shows the man can box. And he did. He did some things in there that were very impressive. He was able to turn the corner before Lomachenko could on him, hit him with uppercuts and set up. And that was very risky because a lot of times he would give up, consider Lomachenko's a southpaw, he would give up, that leverage of being dominant with the lead foot. But he was slick enough and quick enough and talented enough and skilled enough to be able to get away with throwing an uppercut, turn before Lomachenko, and throw the uppercut and disrupt Lomachenko before he can turn the corner, which was very impressive. He was very disciplined. He used his jab, his lead hand in a variety of ways to control Lomachenko, and his power got respect, and he was able to go down to the body. This dude can box. Do not get it twisted. That doesn't, once again, making this clear, I'm not saying he beats all the top guys, but he's going to be competitive if he's disciplined. And he showed discipline last night against a bigger guy. I don't care the level of the opponent. I care about his performance. I always say this, you guys. I care about the performance and how he wins. And he won in a pretty dominant fashion, in a respectable way. And I actually like that he didn't come out there and, leap into a hook or throw a big overhand right off the get-go and put Campa's lights out. Because then, yeah, it's a spectacular win, but I think that would be a false sense of security. Because what I want to see Teo do going up in weight class, I want to see him rely on his boxing to get the W's and let the power come when it comes. Because that's how fights are going to be. You're going to go 8 to 12, 8 to 10, 8 to 10 rounds. You know, it's going to be methodical, and you got to box your way to victory. You're not going to be able to get to that level, go up in weight class, and just start leaping in the hooks and overhand rights. You have to set your stuff up, which he can do. He showed last night he can do that. And once again, I said in a film study, he showed that control and that discipline. Even when he hurt Campa, he didn't just go for the kill. He was disciplined. He stayed within himself. He tried to set his stuff up. He went down to the body. Great boxing skill set. So, you know, take the emotion out of it, man. Once again, we're not getting too high and we're not getting too low. We're not saying Teofimo is going to be the top dog again. He's going to be undisputed. But we're not. But we also can't sit here and say, oh, well, he just beat a cab driver. Who cares? He didn't really do anything in this fight. You know, I liked the way he got the victory. I thought it was an A-type performance considering the circumstances coming off a loss. I also want to see where he is at mentally. Would he struggle to get his confidence back? And he got his confidence back real quick. You know, and I still saw some of that athletic talent still there because you don't want to abandon that, right? That's what makes you very unique. What people don't understand is people say, oh, well, Teofimo is not fundamentally sound. Now, there's two ways to look at that. Is he not fundamentally sound that he doesn't do anything technically correct and he gets in trouble a lot and he gets caught? Or is he not fundamentally sound because he's unorthodox, because he does things differently? Why would you want to be by the book? Why would you? Now, it's okay if you want to be fundamentally sound and go ABC, 1, 2, 3. You know, I start my combinations off with the jab all the time, and I follow up with the cross, and I follow up with the hook, 1, 2, 3. That's fine. You can go very far. Don't get it twisted. You go very far with the fundamentals, obviously. And the fundamentals work for more people than not. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with being unorthodox, which Teofimo is in a lot of ways. He breaks the rules. There's nothing wrong with Look, I always say this. You can break the rules if you understand them. Okay? And if you can get away with breaking the rules if you understand the rules, which Teofimo does. He understands the fundamentals. So that's why he's able to break the rules, just like Roy Jones or Emmanuel Augustus or Prince Nassim Hamed or, you know, who else? You know, who's another unorthodox fighter? You know, guys like that. If you understand the rules, the fundamentals, the basics, you can get away with breaking the rules. You know, but if you don't understand the basics and the fundamentals mentally, then you're not going to get away with breaking the rules. And some of that is a little bit compensated by Teofimo's athleticism. He can get away with a lot of things other guys can't because he's very athletic, but he does understand mentally some of the fundamentals. And look at his amateur resume and his pedigree. He used to spar against guys like Tank when he was an amateur. You know, so he understands the fundamentals. And the beauty of this is it makes you unpredictable when you don't go purely by the book. That's why Mike Tyson was different. That's why Muhammad Ali was different. That's why Roy Jones was different. You know, Emmanuel Augustus, Prince Nassim, Pernell Whitaker. They did a lot of things that were considered heresy in the book of fundamentals of boxing. But that's the thing. Once again, if you understand the fundamentals and the basics on in the mental level, okay, you can break the rules. And when you do things differently, that's the thing. You want to set yourself apart. You want to do things differently because it makes it that much harder to train for you. It is a nightmare to prepare for a guy like Terrence Crawford. Think about that. You got to bring sparring partners in that resemble Terrence Crawford. Good luck. You actually have to find two different guys, one that fights southpaw, one that fights orthodox, and switch them up through sparring just to get somewhat of a resemblance and an idea of what Terrence Crawford fights like. Can you imagine trying to find a guy that fought like Prince Nassim Hamed, back when he was fighting? Or finding a guy like Roy Jones? Who fights like Roy Jones? Nobody, because he's unorthodox. He showed that you can get away with throwing lead left hooks and lead right hands, and you can keep your hands down and be effective. And Teal understands how to break the rules. He gets caught from time to time. He gets a little lazy in his technique, but for the most part, he makes it work. Why are people trying to change him? Oh, he needs to put his hands up. No, he doesn't. This is the way he fights, and he needs to roll with it. He needs to be disciplined in the way he fights, and he needs to, I agree. He needs to improve his cardio a little bit. He said himself, his legs got a little bit worn throughout the fight. He needs to improve his cardio. Keep the integrity of that Philly shell. If this is where it's supposed to be, that base, it shouldn't be down here. It should be right here. I got no problem with you dropping your hands, but keep it consistent throughout the fight unless you're just trying to change the tempo of the rhythm or give a different look. Don't drop it because you're out of shape. And if you're out of shape, get into shape, perfect shape. So all the things I saw with Tio are correctable. Most of it's mental or most of it's discipline. All those things can be corrected, and if he does correct them, he's going to be a formidable opponent. But even if he takes another L, that's not a bad thing. What happens if he loses to Josh Taylor? Still, he's still he can be a great fighter. But how does he match up against Tank? I got Tank in that matchup, barely. I got Garcia. I think he can beat Garcia. Haney, that's a tough one. That's a close one. But, I like Teofimo's boxing skills more than Haney's. Why? Because I feel like Teofimo takes more risk. I feel like when you take more risk, you can develop more skills. Haney, to me, he's very disciplined. Don't get it twisted. Very disciplined. Reminiscent of Floyd Mayweather in the sense that he's very disciplined and he's not going to get out of it. There's nobody that's going to deter Haney from doing what he does. But I'm to me, the jab and keep him at distance and throw the cross, jab and grab, that's not my thing. I appreciate more variety than what Haney does. Now, Haney's a great fighter. I'm not saying Tio beats him, but the whole jab, keep distance and stay back and play it safe, that's nice, but it's not my thing. I like guys who take risk and develop their game inside out. Not just stick with one thing and play safe. But, Tio's, he showed footwork, he showed defense, he showed control of distance, he showed inside fighting, he showed outside fighting, he showed mid-range fighting, he showed combinations, he showed variation, he showed all the punches in the book. He showed confidence, the mentality's still there, good defense. He's unorthodox. But that is fine if you know how to break the rules. See, the people who get away with breaking the law are the ones who understand the law. Just like you think about wealthy people. They understand the tax code, and that's why they get away with not paying taxes. Or you think about somebody, like there's a difference. If you try to break into a bank, and you just go in there, say, hey, this is stick up. And you're shooting your gun off, popping off, and you just take the money, you're not going to get away with it. You're going to get caught later on, or you're going to get caught on the spot, And that's a very lazy way to break the law and the rules. You're not going to get away with that money because you don't understand the complexity of the bank, the security system, the guards, the timing of everything. But if you have somebody who's a professional, somebody who's great at pulling off heists, they're going to understand when the bank opens. They're going to understand when the security guards are there. They're going to understand what vault the money is in. They're going to, somehow they're going to get all this information to understand to a T how the bank runs. And that's what's going to allow them to break into the bank, get the money, and get away with it. You have to understand the rules to break the rules. Tio understands the rules, and that's why he's able to get away with it. On top of that, he's very talented. As long as he's disciplined, he will be a formidable opponent for anybody. He's power carried him. So you guys tell me what you think. I thought he performed well. Like the video, comment down below, subscribe if you're new. Cheers to my subscribers. Thank you for the support. We're still building this thing. We'll get it up to 1,000 soon if we keep up at it. But tell me what you guys think. No racism, no bias. Just call it like you see it, man. And you can disagree without being racist or, you know, prejudiced in some sort of way. But cheers to you guys.